This is the Louie T Network. The journey is long, and nobody said it was going to be easy. But all we've got is us. All that believe is us. The Redskins Report.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sisters. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report. Washington Redskins football. I've been busy lately. I've been busy. You know it. If you've been watching my videos, you saw that I went on vacation. I came back, had to do the mock draft. So I've been very busy of late. But like I always say, home is where the heart is. And I'm always coming home to you guys, Washington Redskins fan base. Love you guys. And so 2015 NFL regular season schedule has been released. So let's talk about that. I want to talk about that briefly. We'll talk NFL draft and what the Redskins will do with their number 5 overall pick in the draft overall as a whole and what we need to look to get from the draft. On another video down the road, it'll happen before the draft, which is next Thursday. So you'll see this face again sometime in the near future. But let's talk schedule. I thought last year's schedule was very conducive for the Redskins to be successful. We saw what happened last year. Redskins finished up the season at 3-13. So really you can't tell, what the future holds, and the schedule really doesn't do much of anything in terms of what you'll do wins, losses wise. I don't like to do wins and losses. That's an exercise in futility that I don't participate in. To me, it makes no sense to talk about wins and losses in April. There's so many different variables that haven't even started to take effect yet that you can't even talk about wins and losses this time of the year. But I do want to talk about games and where they're at and what they mean and what we can look forward to. So that is something that I do want to talk about today. So let's jump into the schedule. We start week 1, and the schedule makers, this schedule starts a lot like last year. This is an eerily similar start to the schedule, much like last year's schedule. Last year, if you remember, we went on the road at Houston, came back home for Jacksonville in the first 2 weeks. It's a similar start, except we're at home for the first 2 weeks this time. Home from Miami. That's going to be the debut of Ndamukong Suh as a Dolphin, and the other storyline in that game is going to be Ryan Tannehill and Robert Griffin III. Remember, both quarterbacks selected in the 2012 NFL Draft. I actually thought Tannehill was going to be the guy that the Redskins were going to draft at the number 6 spot. And so there's a little bit of irony here as to these two quarterbacks, and there is right now a stark contrast as to where their careers are right now. Tannehill looking to get a new deal with the Dolphins. Robert Griffin III's future in Washington in the balance right now. So that will be a storyline that people will be talking about if Robert Griffin III is even on the roster at that point. We'll talk about that at another time and place. You look at week number 2, St. Louis Rams. This is a big game for me. It may not be for you, but for me, the St. Louis Rams have manhandled us. They've pumped us for years. And this goes back to 2012, Robert Griffin III's rookie season. We went up to St. Louis, replacement referees, if you remember, early in that season, they could not control the action. They were hitting Robert after the whistle. It was a very physical game. Josh Morgan ends up getting a 15-yard penalty in the late stages of the game to force a long Billy Condit field goal that he misses, and the Redskins lose on the road in a shootout to the Rams. They've been physical with us since we've gotten Robert Griffin III. They beat us up last year. They molested us. They raped us at home, shut us out. Really put a damper on our season. And I'm tired of being embarrassed by the Rams. I really am. And so to me, this is a big game. And for all the reasons I mentioned, and then you can go ahead and throw the fact that Jeff Fisher has been trolling us. Last year, remember, six players, all 6 players that were acquired in the Robert Griffin III trade to the middle of the field for the coin toss, trolling us, and then after that, they proceeded to slap us around and shut us out with Sean Hill at quarterback. We've got to stop allowing the St. Louis Rams to manhandle us, and hopefully we are able to stem that tide in week 2 when they come to FedEx Field. Again, week 3 on the road for the Giants on Thursday night. And this, remember I talked about the schedule being eerily similar to last year? Remember, first 2 games last year out of the conference, we had Jacksonville and Houston last year in the first 2 weeks. Then we played Philadelphia in week 3, and then the Giants week 4 at home on Thursday Night Football. Well, schedule makers gave it to us pretty similar this year. Start out with Miami, then we go and play St. Louis, both of those at home this time. Then we go to the Giants week 3 Thursday Night Football. This is a big game for me, and it's going to be a huge test, and it's going to tell me a lot about this football team. How do we respond to a Giants team that manhandled us last year? They beat us up twice, including that Thursday night debacle early in the season where we thought we were a good football team coming off of that Kirk Cousins shootout in Philadelphia where we just came up short. We were feeling good about ourselves offensively. Giants came and took it to us at home. We are going to their building this time, see if we can't change the way things have been going of late. They swept us last year and they made it look relatively easy. Let's see if we can't go on the road and exact a measure of revenge against the New York Football Giants in week number 3. Then week 4, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at home at FedEx Field. Deshaun Jackson will definitely be circling that one on the calendar. He wants to do exactly what he did last year, help the Redskins defeat the Philadelphia Eagles at FedEx Field. So that's a divisional game. And the first thing that I looked at when I saw the schedule was 2 straight home games to start the season. You know you got to pay for that later on, and that's exactly what's going to happen when we get there. I'll talk about it. But I like to have, the reason why I thought last year's schedule was set up and way more conducive for the Redskins to win was because it was set up with divisional games on the road early in the season, and that's the way I like it, because if you get the divisional games on the road out of the way early, you're set up for a couple of late season home divisional games, which is what you want if you're going to be in a tight divisional race or even fighting for a wild card spot. You want to be at home, you want to have the crowd on your side, you want to have that momentum. We're not going to have that, obviously, because of the way the schedule is set up. We'll talk about that when we get there. But Eagles week 4 on the road, or excuse me, at FedEx Field, got to try to win 2 consecutive divisional games in a row. Giants on the road, Thursday Night Football. Redskins come back home for Philadelphia in week number 4. Week 5, we got a road game. And so first 3 out of 4 games in the season are at home. Now you got to go on the road a couple of weeks. After you do that, first of those 2 straight road games at Atlanta, this is going to be a test for our defense. Falcons are among the best on the offensive side of football each and every single year, with Matt Ryan at quarterback and Julio Jones and Roddy White at the receiver position. This is a team that is dangerous every single year on the offensive side of football. Let's see how our defense responds on the road against an Atlanta Falcons team that can rev it up offensively. And they've got a new head coach in Dan Quinn coming over from the Seahawks. So let's hope that we can take advantage of them being in the same spot that we were in last year with a first-year head coach, new system, new things being put in place. Let's see if we can't take advantage of them still trying to find their footing early in the season. Week 6 at the Jets, same type of principle here. New head coach Todd Bowles, first time head coach. Hopefully he's still trying to find his way as Jets head coach and we can take advantage of that. Same thing like I talked about with the Falcons in week 5 on the road against a team that's going to test us. This team is going to test us on the defense side of the football. Their defense top notch. You got Revis and Cromartie on the outside. You got Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson up front. This defense is stacked. They're ready to rock and roll. And so offensively, we're going to be tested. Can our offense move the football probably against one of the better defenses in all of the National Football League? We shall see. 2 consecutive road games in weeks 5 and 6. Week 7, back home for Tampa Bay. This is another one of those games where I look at the schedule and I say to myself, this team probably was one of the worst showings we had a season ago. I think last year, if not the Rams game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game might have been rock bottom for us. And we need to exact a measure of revenge there. We need to exercise some demons against the Buccaneers. And that will most likely be our first look up close and personal with Jameis Winston, as I believe he will be the Buccaneers' first overall selection in the draft, and I expect him to start right away. And so we might be getting Jameis Winston and a Buccaneers team that is going to be really good defensively under Lovie Smith for a second consecutive year. I think, again, this is another one of those situations where we got to start beating some of these teams that we play a lot. When you finish in the division last annually, the Buccaneers finish last in their division a lot. The Rams, same deal. You see these teams all the time. We got to start beating these teams. And we're at home against both the Rams and the Buccaneers for a second consecutive year. Both of these teams were at FedEx Field last year. Both of these teams came in our house, smacked us around. We got to change some things, and hopefully we're able to do that against the Buccaneers in Week 7. And that game is the last before the bye, Week 8. Redskins are on a bye, so that's a great bye week. Like the fact that it's basically in the middle of the season, cutting the season in 2 halves. Let's see what the Redskins do. And we need this bye week because coming off of the bye in Week 9, we play none other than the Super Bowl defending champion New England Patriots at their place on the road. So we need 2 weeks to prepare for them. Really don't know if it's going to matter. They're such a good football team that it probably won't matter in the grand scheme of things. Whether we're a good team or not, we're probably going to walk into an ass whooping in week number 9. But we'll see what happens. Last time we went to Foxborough, it was not pretty. It was when Joe Gibbs was our coach. We lost 52-7, so I am not looking forward to going back there. And remember, that was the year that the Patriots were damn near unstoppable, went undefeated in the regular season, only to lose to the Giants in the Super Bowl. So I don't think that team is going to be on the level and the caliber of that team, but still, 52-7 is 52-7. Let's see if we can't come a lot closer this time around when we head out to Foxborough to take on the Super Bowl defending champions. Week 10, New Orleans Saints. And this is a situation where the Saints have purged their roster. This is going to look like a totally different Saints football team. Hopefully we'll be able to get one at home versus a team that can get very explosive offensively but has had some struggles defensively. We'll see what happens in Week 10 versus the Saints. Week 11, on the road for the Carolina Panthers. We always struggle with the Panthers. This dates back all the way to the beginning of Cam Newton's career. We've struggled with the Panthers. I remember one year, the year, matter of fact, it was Robert Griffin III's rookie season. The Panthers were like 1-6, and we were 3-5 or so, 3-5. And I expected to beat the Panthers. We expected to beat the Panthers so much so we made it our homecoming game. We had the throwback jerseys on, and that was the first time we had unveiled those ones with the leather helmet-looking helmets. And we went out and we laid an egg. Cam Newton and company came in, took it to us, beat us. But that propelled us on that 7-game winning streak. We went on our bye week, did some soul searching, came back, won 7 in a row, won the division. But we've always struggled with the Panthers. I think a couple of years ago we went to Carolina. They beat us up again there too. So we struggle with Carolina. Again, another one of these teams that handles us annually. We need to exercise some demons. Let's hope we can do that on the road against the Carolina Panthers. And they play some really good defense as well. New York Giants at home in week number 12. And so I talked about wanting home divisional games. This is one of the few ones we've got left. We've got the Dallas Cowboys. Haven't had them show up on the schedule yet. Stay tuned. They're coming very shortly. But Giants at home, like I said already, they took care of us handily twice last season, including the demolishing of us and the demolition of us on Thursday Night Football in our own building. This is a chance to get them back at home in week number 12. Week 13, Monday Night Football, our only Monday Night Football appearance. We don't have any Sunday Night Football games, and we don't deserve any because we're not a good enough football team to garner that kind of attention. But we did show ourselves on Monday night last year well enough on the road against Dallas to the point that they invited us back to take on that same Cowboys team. And this time, they let us be at home at FedEx Field. And so we've struggled. It's no secret. We've struggled on primetime at home at FedEx Field. But look, there will need to be no promos. There'll need to be no hypes for this game. It's the Cowboys. It's Monday night. We could be 0-12 going into that game, 0-11, and everyone will show up because it's Cowboys. It's Monday night. I expect the Redskins to be juiced for that game. Let's hope we can go and do what we did a season ago, and that's upstage the Cowboys on the biggest stage there is, Monday Night Football, Week 13, the first time we see the Cowboys in the 2015 season. And again, I really don't like playing teams in that close of proximity, but that's the way the schedule makers did it. Week 13, first time we see the Cowboys at home, Monday Night Football. Chicago Bears, the Bears, Week 14 at Chicago, going to be cold. They have a new head coach in John Fox. He's not a new head coach in terms of around the block, but he's a new guy in that franchise. And so, again, another one of these teams with a new coach. Some adjustments have to be made. Maybe we can take advantage of them being in the same spot we were in a season ago. It's going to be cold. I hate playing in Chicago late in the season, but it is what it is. See if we can't go on the road and get ourselves a much needed road victory. You go Week 15, our last game at FedEx Field for the 2015 season, unless we make the postseason. So Buffalo Bills, Rex Ryan, new Bills head coach, another team with a new head coach. Again, not his first rodeo, but his first time as Bills head coach. So hopefully we'll be able to get those guys. They're going to play some extremely tough defense. We already know what Rex Ryan is about. We felt like we had gotten away from Shady, only to find out we still got to play this guy. But it's one time, and that's it. We won't have to see him for another 4 years. By then, he probably won't be the same back. So we'll get our Shady game out of the way. Let's hope he doesn't slice and dice us like he used to when he was in Philadelphia. And Rex Ryan will have that defense jumping around, making some plays. Let's hope that we're up to the test that they'll come and bring to FedEx Field. Philadelphia Eagles on the road. And so this is a Saturday night game, reminiscent of last year. Again, when you show the schedule makers that you can play well on the big stage and it's entertaining football, they invite you back. That's why we got the Monday night game with the Cowboys. That's why we got this Saturday game with the Eagles. Remember last year, the Eagles game came down to the wire. Vitamin B with the late game interception to seal it. Redskins steal one from the Eagles and effectively eliminate them from the playoffs. It was a good football game, a fun one to watch. They thought so too. That's why they put us in this spot again. The difference is we're not at FedEx Field this time. We're at the Link on the road taking on the Eagles. Something's going to be on the line here, whether it's the Eagles trying to get in again or the Redskins trying to get in or whatever the case may be. Something's on the line in this game. We'll see what happens. But this one, remember last year it was early in the afternoon. This time it's going to be late at night, 8 o'clock start for the Redskins and Eagles on Saturday, day after Christmas, Week 16 on the road versus the Eagles. And to finish up the season, you guessed it, on the road against our arch nemesis, the Dallas Cowboys. And so this could be for the division. This could be for the Redskins trying to get in. We could be playing spoilers. Cowboys could be playing spoilers. This could just be for pride. Who knows? It's Cowboys, Redskins. Need I say more? We're on the road. And again, I talked about wanting to get the roadies out of the way in the division early because I wanted to avoid scenarios like this. If we're going to make the playoffs and we need a late season push, we're going to have to go on the road and win some. It's going to be tough. I just told you our last 3 out of 4 games are on the road. Tough environment in Chicago, going to be cold, frigid temperatures, late in December. We're going to have to go to Chicago. Got to go to Philadelphia on primetime, Saturday night, to take on the Eagles at the Link. Then got to go to the Cowboys, division champs, last game of the season, they're at home. So it's going to be tough sledding for us that last month of the season. But again, good teams find ways to get it done. We'll see if we classify as one of those. Right now, of course, we're not in that discussion, but time will only tell and tell us what we will be come December, that last month of the season. So that's the Redskins 2015 schedule in a nutshell. The one anomaly that is very strange, you rarely see this, because we are playing teams on the East Coast this year. We played the AFC East, we played the NFC South, so we don't have to travel past the Central Time Zone. Because we don't have to do that, the Redskins don't have a single 4 o'clock start on their schedule this year. I don't remember ever having a season where the Redskins didn't have at least one 4 o'clock game, so that is unique in itself. All the Redskins games either start at 1 o'clock or they start at a primetime slot at 8:25. So that's the Redskins schedule in a nutshell. I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. My Redskins spirit will never fall. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Redskins. I'll come back. We'll talk about the draft. Robert Griffin III. Will they pick up the option? Won't they pick up the option? We'll talk all of that good stuff prior to the draft. I'll see you next week.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In the Lab Room. That's In the Lab Room on Facebook and at In the Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. The Redskins Report.